Yo, welcome to another episode of BBoyTech Modular Journal. Today we're going to be talking about the Rossum Electronics evolution filter. They call it the variable character ladder filter, and that's just what it is, right? So it's the ladder filter improved upon and expanded. And without further ado, let's just jump into what's so dope about this module. So I'm gonna do a couple of things. One, I'm gonna kind of explain the interface to you. Hope that doesn't take too long. I'd like to go through what all the different knobs and things mean. After that, I'm gonna run some beats through it from one of the drum machines. Just run that through it, modulate some of the parameters, and then I'll run an ARP through it. So you'll hear how beats sound, you'll hear how synth sounds, and I'll also throw some delay on that. But mainly just to show you how to filter sounds and get a good idea of that. So this filter is divided into 4 sections. The 4 sections are frequency, Q for resonance, genus, which is the poles, right? So you have 3-pole, 4-pole, 5-pole, and 6-pole, and the genus allows you to kind of vary or go between the each of the 4 of them. Okay, so then you have the genus, which is basically distortion. You could add some more rich harmonics into the signal. Okay, so let's talk about these 4 sections. I'll just go through them right quick. The 4 sections are like this. Frequency, which is the cutoff, that's the main knob up top. Then you have these 2 CV, that's frequency CV2, and you have frequency CV3. 2 is controlled by this knob, which is an attenuverter. That basically means that 0 is at 12 o'clock. When it's at 12 o'clock, you're not going to get any of the CV signal that's going there. It's 0. If you turn it all the way to the left, counterclockwise, it is the inverse max, if that's the proper way to say that. It's basically inverted and at max. And as you bring it back to 0, it becomes 12 noon, it becomes 0. You go all the way to the right side clockwise, and it's the maximum of the signal, say 5 volts. And as you bring it back, it's 0. Go all the way over, it's negative 5 volts. That's how that works. All of these across the bottom are basically attenuverters that act the same way. 0 at 12 noon, just like that. Okay, so this next one, frequency CV3, is an attenuator, and that's the typical knob type of function that you know of. It's at 0 at counterclockwise. It's minimum, the most minimum it can be. Then when you turn it all the way to clockwise to the rightmost at max, it is at max of the signal that you're bringing into this CV3, frequency CV3. Now the way this works is that they sum up. So if you have something here and you have something here, this is going to be the sum of the 2 of them. If you have something in both of them, then the main knob is going to be the sum of all of the CV plus the main cutoff, right? So that's actually the same way. Well, this doesn't act the same way. Let me tell you what the next one does. So for the Q section, this is the main Q knob for resonance, right? And then you have Q level compensation. What Q level compensation does, and this is an attenuator, so it's 0 all the way at the left, and it's at max when it's all the way to the right. What Q compensation does is when you're messing with the resonance, it kind of pulls some of the low end data out of the signal. And so Q level compensation allows you to add that back as little or as much as you want. So that's Q level compensation. And then you have this Q CV2. Like I said, that's an attenuverter, so it inverts the signal, whatever you put in there, and that's what you get. QCV1 is a little bit different. It does not have a knob that controls it. It is a full level CV. So whatever voltage you put in there is whatever voltage is going to be. And then what you get here is this kind of takes the sum of the 2, and then this sums them both, right? Okay. So the next section is the genus. So the main genus knob, like I said, lets you sweep through the poles. And if you notice here, sometimes you have two lights that are lit at the same time. That's letting you know that it's morphing between the two. And depending on which mode it's in, you're not going to hear anything while it's morphing. But I think that's in self-oscillation mode only. All right, so then you also have an attenuverter, right? Inverted, not inverted. 0, 12 noon. Okay, then you have the same situation here. This CV controls this knob. And then you have a full level CV here with genus CV1. Whatever voltage you put in there is the voltage it's going to be. Okay, so then you have the species section. The species section is basically distortion. To explain it in the most non-technical way that I could imagine, it's pretty much distortion. And so that distortion gets more rich depending on the mode you have it in. And then the control goes the same way with this attenuverter. You should know how that works now. These all work the same, these 4 knobs here. And this is the same as well. That's a full level, and this is CV that controls that knob. Okay, so let's check out the self-oscillation. We're going to check out self-oscillation right now because it's a really dope pure sine wave generator, right? When it's in self-oscillation mode. So the way you do self-oscillation mode happens when you bring it down to what the book says. That it says about 4 volts. What I know is it starts to sound right about there, right? And I have CV going in. And the sound, this is now an oscillator, right? Because it's in self-oscillation mode. Okay, so now that it's an oscillator, you can actually change the poles, right? 3 pole, 4 pole. And notice as I'm sweeping through the poles with the genus knob, when you have 2 lights lit as it's morphing from one to the next, no sound. And that allows it to sweep through really smoothly. All right. So the idea is from the manual, you get the most stable sine wave when it's in 4-pole mode. But you can obviously sweep through the things. But the most stable it'll be is when it's in 4-pole mode and when it's just barely in self-oscillation. So you can give it more volume like that, right? But when it's just barely in self-oscillation is when they say you get the most stable dill. All right, so species knob should start to distort, but it's kind of the way, I'm not sure it really does anything much more than turn the volume up a little bit when it's in self-oscillation mode. I do hear more volume, but not much distortion. So that's what you get. Let me just let you hear that with a little delay. Now I'm going to add a little bit of CV to the frequency CVs. Give a little bit of delay. And the only sound source at this point is the evolution filter. And obviously we have the Rainmaker delay doing what it does. All right, so you can see that that adds a little bit more weight when I tweak the frequency here. Right? And you can sweep through those. I'll add some CV to sweep through that a little bit. As you can see, it's pretty smooth the way it morphs. A lot of potential here. Yeah. Okay. So you can start to hear a little bit of that distortion from the species. All right, so that's self-oscillation mode. Now let's throw some things through it so we can kind of hear the way the actual filter sounds. All right. What I have here now is I have some drums coming in. So I'm gonna just dial the drums in, and first we'll kind of dial in some frequency, and then I'll let you hear the species, how, dial it in that distortion just as it's described. Sounds dope. Okay, so here are the drums. So we got the filter cut off all the way open. No resonance. Back off on the filter cut off. A little more resonance. And you can scroll through the polls on that. So it's 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. Now that's the Q compensation. You can see how that adds more weight to it. No Q compensation here. So you can see with no resonance, you get a fatter sound. As you start to sweep through the resonance, the lows go away. Right? You could use a Q compensation to come on up. So for drums, this can be a really fat filter, obviously. But then when adding the species in, you start to get some of that distortion. So you can see doing this, you can really start to make these drums smack. And I'm just adding a little delay for fun. And I'm gonna add some CV into the frequency. Let's see if I can find that here. Why not go with both of them? No delay right now. So I have Batumi modulating frequency CV2, and I can invert that like so. I'm gonna add some modulation into frequency 3, which is this guy. And you can see that thing is still smacking pretty hard. Let me give it some more CV here. I'm gonna modulate the Q, modulating Q right now. And we just gonna keep modulating things so we can see what it do. Modulate the genus and the full level. And so this is what you get. And let's add one more to the mix. Turn the Q down a little bit. So now we have species being modulated. So this is what's up when everything's being modulated. Pretty much everything. I'm gonna give it a little more delay just because, it's fun. All right, so there you have it. That's the drum going through. Now we're gonna try it with a sequence going through it so you can see how a synth sounds. We have a little sequence coming from DNA symbiotic waves. Some of y'all been watching me. Y'all know that that's like one of my favorite oscillators. Probably that and chord is what I use more than anything. But anyway, so I got a little ARP coming through the DNA symbiotic waves by Pittsburgh Modular. And this is what it sounds like. I'm just going to bring the cutoff up and start letting you hear it. the way, frequency all the way open. Let's add some CV and then kind of just play with the settings. You know what they're about by now. So I'm starting to bring in some of that Q level compensation along with the Q while frequency is being modulated. Get a whiff of that Q at the Q level compensation there. Now we can also go ahead and start sweeping through Genus and see how that sounds for you. Let's add some CV into the Genus section, a little modulation. See how musical that sounds? It gets real ill real quick. I love this filter. We're gonna add in a little bit of species to see what that distortion is like. So I'm gonna take the Q level compensation, not all the way down, but take it out a little bit so you can hear what species does. And I'll add Q compensation back because it gets real rich at that point too. So sweet. So you can see with the species coming in there, it's such you can hear the extra harmonics. Obviously it's distorting it, but it's a very pleasant distortion, or as Rossum would call it, the good distortion. to take this time to bring in a little bit of delay. Real sweet. All right, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Evolution filter, variable character ladder filter. It's a monster. Now, as that gurbles and wobbles down there, my man Div Kid, he mentioned, yo, how was the spacing in between the buttons? What I think about it, in between the knobs, what I thought about it. When I played with it in perfect circuit, not a big deal, you know. Plus, it was in a very different environment, and it was sitting upright rather than laying down. But yeah, these knobs are kind of close, right? You can see you with my fingers when I'm touching one, I can easily touch the other. So it would have been nice if there was a little more space, but I don't know that I would have liked this being any wider, any more HP than it already is. I think it's 20 HP. Don't quote me on that. So, but at any rate, as far as build quality, there's not, there's a handful of manufacturers out there that get these knobs right. Rossum is definitely one of them. You can see the years of experience and just manufacturing in general from the Rossum company, because these knobs, they just feel really good. The tension on them is great. There is no give, no wobble, and it's built like a tank. I mean, it actually it makes you want to slowly tweak the knobs, just because, there's a very smooth feel to them. The tension is just right. It's not too loose and it's not too tense. All right. So, yeah, that's it. Looks good. Sounds good. Excellent buy. Yeah. Signing off. So, yo, that is the Evolution filter. And again, I usually feature things that I think are really dope, so you'll rarely hear me say that's not fresh, right? Because I'm featuring things because I want to put you up on what's dope. So thanks to Rossum Electronics, Marco Alpert, for sending this over, and I'm enjoying it. It's a dope filter, and I really think that if you're into like a smoother sounding filter that you can crank up and get some character out of, this is the joint for you, right? It's not too large. It's built like a tank. The knobs are great, and I'd recommend it without a doubt. It's not the average character filter. It's something that's pretty unique, and if you want something that comes straight out of the EMU world, like, you know, the EMU synthesizers and sampling keyboards from back in the 70s, this is directly plucked out of that time and that beast of a company and put into Modular. So you're getting something that's real dope. Like I said, I'd recommend it. It's certified dope as far as I'm concerned, and I'll see you next time on BBoyTech Modular Journal. Peace.